trying to solve this new problem or newish problem of API security and identity. And after a while doing that, we realized that it's really, really hard. The products out there didn't really work the way we wanted them to. They weren't flexible enough, and the identity piece didn't match our architecture or our thought of the architecture anyway. So we figured if no one else is doing it, we need to do it. So that's how we started. Interestingly, I think it's fairly the same. We set out to make sure we build something that makes the internet safer, where if you want to protect something, it is protected, that the identities can be both privacy protected and secure. And that has remained quite a lot. Technically, it was important for us to build a product that was really flexible, because we wanted to solve not the simple cases, but the really difficult ones, the complex scenarios where you have a lot of stuff that needs to integrate, a lot of identities that you need to manage in different kinds. And that, I think, it's just gotten bigger, really. There's more areas where we're operating now than when we started, but the core vision and the core thought of the product is the same. The core architecture is still the same as well, yeah. We spent a lot of time working on that architecture early on, both before we started the company and as we started to build the product, and we were really strict on it from day one, and that has paid off. So it's the same architecture still, yeah. Well, OAuth was fairly new still. Early on, we had to explain OAuth and explain why you needed OAuth in particular. There were not really competing standards, but there were competing thoughts on you really need this sort of complex identity pattern on top of API security and to get apps integrated with your platforms and all of these things. But as as time passed, that changed. I would say that's not a question anymore. I mean, this is the way. There isn't an alternative really either, but also the standards themselves have obviously evolved. They're a lot more complex and bigger now than when we started. Or development principles, I should say. One was YAGNI, you ain't gonna need it, so we're not gonna implement stuff just because we think someone at some point might need it, or we might need it in the future. Let's do it then. So don't spend time on the wrong thing. And the other thing is we never implement anything that we consider too academic. So because of the specification space, there's a lot of smart people writing good specifications, but that doesn't mean that they're industrial or that they're actually solving things that the industry needs. So we were very particular in the beginning of picking the right ones and making sure that we see real use cases for the things we build at all times. By avoiding technical debt, that's a really important aspect, because it gets hard and hairy to make things secure if you also have to deal with a lot of legacy all the time. So at Curity, we always take the extra time when we build new things to make sure we don't leave that behind, and if we see things that needs to be redone in the process of building something new, we take that time and do that. Because security is obviously an architectural play, but when it comes down to software, it's really about the details. You need to do all the details right in order to make software secure. So that has been an important factor, I think, for us when it comes to technology and how we build things. I still think that identity and API security as a whole is generally overlooked. I mean, we are one of the few companies who connect the dots, if you will. OAuth obviously is set up to solve API security from an identity perspective. How do you authenticate someone to an API, for instance? But it doesn't end there. I mean, there's a lot of details that you need to know in an API in order to make a good decision if you should let that request in, or what you should do with that. And what I see still is that is overlooked in a lot of organizations, which means you build more complex systems than you have to, and you don't solve enough problems in your organization. Obviously, they impact the roadmap in various ways. Decentralized identity is interesting. I mean, it's been around for the thought and the structure of how that should work has been around for a few years now. It's slow. Some areas I think will catch on pretty quickly once legislation forces them to, and other areas will follow after that. For us, we've been building these things for the past 3-4 years now, but taking it carefully and slowly just to make sure we're not building a paper product that's not going to be needed or isn't useful enough. And same with AI. I think AI, on the other hand, is not moving slowly, it's moving incredibly fast. But when it comes to tooling and protocols such as OAuth and OpenID, there isn't yet a whole lot that we see is needed from a security perspective, except for the tools we already have. But I think there will be adaptations and adjustments to these to make sure they're ready to fly in whatever comes up next month with AI and AI agents and whatnot. But in general, the architecture and the security principles and the way it's built up in Curity, it works and it holds for even AI. For me personally, I think working in a multicultural environment has been a challenge, and also something where I've grown a lot and learned a lot from. We started off as 3 people, but already then 1 was American, 2 were Swedish. And as we grew, we got more people from all kinds of places in the world, which is fantastic. We had to learn how to listen and what kind of communication culture you have to have. How do you make sure you actually understand what the other one says and not get offended unnecessarily, because usually there's no intent of such things. And that to me has been very, very positive, and I've learned a lot from that, and I think the company is better for it. Well, for the company right now, we're scaling up, which is very fun. Becoming more people in more areas, and growing overall as a company. I think that's really exciting. Each phase has always come with its new challenges, already from the start till this point and going forward, and that's fun and interesting. Technically, there's a lot of interesting things going on as well. New areas where we see identity needs are growing that we didn't see before. That's super exciting. But I also think that the core of API security is going to grow a lot in the coming years. I think the advent of AI agents communicating with APIs is going to change how people perceive the need for identity and realize that there is more needed here. We can't just let machines talk to each other and not have control. We need to have better and deeper control than before. And for Curity, that's a sweet spot. That's what we do, and that's exciting. And I think we'll see a lot going on in that area for us as well.